Hello there guys! For today's video, I'm going to show you how to create a hologram effect in Photoshop. And also we will dive deeper into duplicating layers for creating multiple layers, applying blur like Gaussian blur and motion blur, creating a scan effect using filter, applying effects under layer style, and using levels for creating a glow effect. So let's get started. So here in our document, I already prepared here our background image. And not only that, I also prepare here of an image of this boy that will be our subject. So the first step we're going to do is we're going to create a selection around our subject. So to do that, with that background layer selected on the layers panel, I'm going on the menu bar, go to select, and then choose subject. There we go. Now, let's add more selection from the cape. So I'm going to use the quick selection tool here. So just go to the fourth tool, right click on it, and then find the quick selection tool. All right. And then for the options on top, make sure this one is selected. And then let's add more selections. There you go. All right. Now I'm going to press Control plus J. Okay. Now I'm going to press V as well, and then click and drag this one onto our original document. And you can see the size is too big. So I'm going to bring out the transformation command, press Control plus T. Now let's decrease those points in, okay, to decrease the size, right, into something like, now once good, hit enter. And by the way, if you find this video helpful so far, please consider subscribing to help YouTube algorithm show my videos to other nerds like us. Now the next step we're going to do here is we're going to convert this layer into a smart object. So to do that, going on that subject layer selected, right click on it and choose convert to smart object. And then after that, I'm going to press Control and then select on the thumbnail of this subject layer. All right. And now our selection is back. And then going on to the menu bar, go to select, under select, go to modify, then choose contract. And this window will appear. So I'm going to contract by 10 pixels and hit OK. And again, going on to the menu bar, go to select once again, go to modify, and then now let's choose feather. So the feather radius set to 1 pixels and then hit OK. And now we're going to invert the selection. So to do that, I'm going to press and hold Control plus Shift plus I. Now once I did that, you can see that our selection is already inverted. Now make sure that you're selecting on the subject layer, and with this selection, now I'm going to the menu bar, go to filter, under filter, go to blur and find Gaussian blur. Now I'm going to blur this one into the amount of 2 pixels and then hit OK. All right, so look at this. Now we already fixed the edges. We already created the blur on it. Okay, now the next step we're going to do here is we're going to create 2 copies of this subject layer. So I'm going to press Control plus J and another. Press Control plus J. There are already 2 of it. Now the next step here is we're going to rename this layer. So from this top layer, I'm going to rename this one as our glow. From the second layer, I'm going to rename this one as luminosity. And to the other one, I'm going to set this one to blur. All right, now I'm going to hide first the glow layer and the luminosity layer. With that blur layer selected, I'm going to change the blending options. So I'm going to click on this arrow down and then set that to linear light. And now this happens on our subject. And then with that layer selected still, I'm going to the menu bar, go to filter, go to blur, and find the motion blur. Okay, so from the angle, I'm going to set this one to 0 degrees for the distance to 40 pixels to create an blur like this, and then hit OK. All right, now the next step here is I'm going to make the glow layer visible. So I'm going to click on this one. All right, now it's already on top. Then I'm going to change the fill. Yes, here, click this one, and then bring it to 0%. Okay. Now, I'm going to right click on that glow layer and go to blending options. All right, and this layer style will appear, right? And I'm going to set this one aside for us to see the changes. Now, on this part, I'm going to tick on the inner shadow, okay? and click on that inner shadow. So from the adjustments under the inner shadow, for the blend mode, I'm going to click this arrow down and then set this one into color dodge. And then for the color, I'm going to set this one to color white. The opacity, set this one to 30%. From the size, set this one to 250. We're good with this. Now the next step here is we're going to also to tick on the outer glow. And then select on that outer glow. So from the blending mode, I'm also going to set this one into color dodge. Then for the opacity, I'm going to set this one to 100. From the color, yes, I'm going to set this one into a bluish color, something like this. Hit OK. So from the size, set this one to 100 pixels. All right, now everything's set. Hit OK. Next up is I'm going to turn the luminosity visible. So I'm going to click on this box here. All right, there are. And then with that luminosity layer selected, I'm going to change its blend mode to luminosity. So to do that, just click on this arrow down again and then find luminosity. Okay, there you have it. The next step here is we're going to create the scan lines. Okay, so going on top, select on that glow layer. Let's create a new layer on top of it. So just hit this one, create a new layer icon. And then so with that new layer selected, I'm going to the menu bar, go to edit, choose on fill. All right, for the contents, I'm going to set this one to 50% gray. Mode to normal, the opacity to 100%, and then hit OK. All right, now the next step here is we're going to change the foreground color. So just select this one to white. Okay, and then with this still layer selected, I'm going to the filter, go to filter gallery, go to sketch, under sketch, find halftone. And then from the options, I'm going to choose on halftone pattern, size to 1, contrast to 40. From the pattern lines, set this one to line. And then hit OK. All right, now it already created those lines. See? Now the next step I'm going to do here is layer selected. I'm going to the channel. And then from the RGB, I'm going to press Control and hold it. And then click on this thumbnail of the RGB. Now it already created a selection like this. And then let's go back to the layers. All right, from the new layer that we just added a while ago, let's click and drag it to the trash here. Okay. And now with this glow layer selected, I'm going to add layer mask on this. So going down here, just select on this layer mask icon. All right. So there you go. Now I'm going to zoom this one in for you to see what happens. So you can see those lines, right? Okay, let's zoom this one out. Now the next step here is I'm going to drag this layer mask thumbnail to put it on the luminosity layer and also to the blur layer. So to do that, I'm going to press Alt, hold it, and click this thumbnail layer and then bring it to the luminosity layer. All right, and same thing. Select on that layer mask thumbnail of the luminosity layer, press Alt, hold it, and click and drag it to the blur layer. And there you have it. Okay, now next up here, let's put all these 3 layers into one folder. So select on that blur layer, I'm going to press Control and hold it, and then select also in the luminosity layer and also to the glow layer. Now they are both, now these layers are already selected. Now I'm going to press Control plus G. Now I already put them into this group. Now the next step we're going to do here is we're going to duplicate this group layer. All right, so to do that, with that group 1 layer selected, I'm going to press Control plus J. All right, now you can see it already created a copy. Okay, now I'm going to click this one for us to see because there will be changes on this part. Under the glow layer of this group 1 copy layer, I'm going to the outer glow, click that, and let's apply some changes on this. So from the opacity, I'm going to set this one into 80%. And then for the spread, I'm going to set this one to 40. See what happens. Okay, and then for the size, amount of 40 as well to create something like effect like this. And then hit OK. And another thing, going to the inner shadow, click on that. From the color, I'm going to set this one into color blue. Okay, and then select OK. All right, so that's all, and then hit OK again. And then another thing, going on to the blur layer, let's hide the motion blur here. So I'm going to just click on this. All right, there are. And now let's close this one. Let's close this folder. And then from this group one copy, I'm going to decrease the opacity level into 70%. All right, and there you have it. Okay, now the next step we're gonna do here is we're going to apply some glow around place. Okay, so to do that with that layer 0, yeah, this one, or actually that's the background layer, I'm going to create a duplicate layer of that. With that selected, press Ctrl plus J. All right, and then from this layer, I'm going to add levels. So with that layer selected, go to the adjustment layer icon, click on it, and then choose on levels. From the slider of this highlight, I'm going to move it to the left. There you go. 102 is fine. Okay, now we're good with this. Now once we already set that into 102, now I'm going to select on that levels layer and then press hold and then click also this duplicated layer and then right click on it and then let's merge these two layers to create into one layer. All right, so we already have this brightness. Now let's create a negative mask of this level of this duplicate layer of our background. So to do that, I'm going to press Alt. While holding Alt, let's add a mask. So once I did that, it created a negative mask. So with this negative mask layer thumbnail selected, I'm going to the toolbar and find the brush tool. Okay. And then from the settings, I'm going to set the opacity into 30%. Okay, but first we're going to apply a brightness on the wall. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to choose on a soft round brush. And then from the settings here, okay, I'm going to rotate this one, or I'm going to flatten this brush to something like this. This one is fine. Okay, so the brush size is okay. Now I'm going to apply it here to brighten those walls. All right, now let's also brighten up the floor. So going on to the brush setting again. Okay, this one, just click on this. Let's move this one around to something like this. All right, and then let's brighten up the floor. All right, now that's way better. And another thing here is I'm going to add a new layer. So just go here, select on this, add new layer. And I'm going to rename this layer as blue light. Now with that blue light layer selected, first I'm going to change the foreground color. So I'm going here on the left side of our screen. Yes, select on this one and then choose to color blue. Then hit OK. All right, and then go to the menu bar, go to edit, go to fill. For the contents, set this one into foreground color. So mode to normal and the opacity to 100% and then hit OK. All right, now it already created a blue background here. Now let's change the blending options of this blue light layer. So select on this and then find color. So once I did that, it created an effect like this. All right, and then let's create a negative mask from this blue light layer. So press Alt, hold it, and then add a mask. Okay. All right, now let's make use of our brush tool. Select B for the shortcut key. So from the brush, I'm going to also from the opacity set that to 30%. Okay, now from the brush size, going to first brighten up the ground. Okay, and also from the walls, that's what we did. Okay, now there you have it. And lastly, from this blue light layer selected, I'm going to change the opacity just into the amount of 70% to lessen that. Okay, now there you have it. Now I may now show you the before and after. So this one is the before and this one is the after. And that is how to create a hologram effect in Photoshop.